поки не розпочали, може підкажете, де тут транслювати презентацію, яка кнопочка?
If you could prompt me how I could share my screen, because during the presentation I will need that. Yeah, Jorge will make you the host for the presentation, and down on the panel you will have screen sharing option. Can you see it? Screen sharing.
Ні, не бачу.
No, I don't.
Бачу, хто є, чат, скрін.
I can see the participants, chat, and screen. Screen, that's it. And please, dear coordinators, mute yourself for the meantime, not to impede the whole process, because we will have the discussion session a little bit later. And now, Jorge, I suggest that we start and that we launch our live broadcast for our guests watching us on YouTube to also be able to join in our open part of the meeting. So I'm going to start our Facebook broadcast. Welcome to everyone. Welcome to all those who have joined our quarterly meeting of the branches STEM girls. Thanks to all of you for joining. We are happy to welcome our coordinators of branches of STEM girls. But first of all, we would like to tell you what kind of meeting it is and why we have gathered here. So today we're having a meeting of the branches STEM girls, coordinators of those STEM girls branches, which are the communities of active girls in schools and other educational institutions like colleges or universities throughout Ukraine. They get united for the sake of involving girls into STEM, into the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And we have representative offices of our community, the branches of STEM girls throughout Ukraine. That's why we have decided today to make our quarterly meeting an open meeting for all the teachers to be able to join in and to come to know about modern approaches of involving girls into STEM. So I'm happy to welcome all our guests who have just joined this meeting. And I would like to give the floor for the welcoming speech to our guests, since the event has been organized jointly with the UN Fund for Population of Ukraine and is supported by the Swedish government. That's why I would like to give the floor for the welcoming speech to Natalia Koschovska, their program analyst of the UN Fund.
Доброго дня, вітаю всіх. Дякую,
Good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to everyone, and thank you for joining our today's meeting. It's going to be of interest that we have a look at the agenda, and I'm going to share with you some data as to why it is important and why we need to pay attention to all the things for as many active girls to choose this path of career and learning in their life. If we pay attention to the GDP in the IT sector, which now makes about 4% in Ukraine, and the government intends to increase it to 10 over the next 5 years. And if we have a look at this, we really see that a number of people going into this profession is going upwards. And still the share of girls among IT experts is about 20%. Why so? Even in spite of the fact that our girls have very good results in the external independent testing, then they're all even better than boys. And we have found the answer in our recent survey of the UN Population Fund and also with the support of the Swedish government, where we asked the respondents from Ukraine what the attitude is to the choice of profession. And more than half of the respondents have pointed out that they still believe that there is some division into the so-called male and female professions. And moreover, about 21% of parents still consider that their children should choose their profession, taking into account their gender. So So it's really important to focus children towards conscious selection of their profession, not on the basis of those social biases as far as artificial division into male and female professions is concerned. Already today, the children may watch online how quickly their profession will be replaced by robots. That's why we really need to develop quickly, very dynamically in this field. We need to take into account soft skills of the 21st century, since you also need to develop soft skills to be a success. And it's an additional important skill, which I have to mention. This is the knowledge of English or other foreign languages. I'm happy to welcome all of you here, and I'm going to give the floor to our partners from the Swedish government and from the STEM girls, because we have a widespread network in Ukraine, and we hope that our further cooperation is going to be a success. Thank you. Thank you, Natalia. I'm also happy to give the floor to Marina Saprekina, who is the head of the management board of the CAGIS Development Center and the founder of the initiative of STEM Girls. Thank you, Julia. Welcome to everyone. And I would like to mention that the thanks that we're going to have here today is the perfect thing we have been moving towards for quite a period, for quite many years. And I'm really grateful to the UN Population Fund for the support of this initiative within the project funded by the Swedish government, because this is the quarterly meeting which is going to unite both our hopes and our dreams and our experience. And for you to come to know about the new trends, the new skills, new tools, which are used in the STEM market. So I hope that since we have about 24 the participants today, I hope that next time we will have even more, because we have about 50 branches. And by the way, recently we have launched some new branches. And by the way, I'm addressing you. If you have some schools or vocational schools which are really interested in this, you know, we're going to have very good things for branches which we didn't have, which we piloted last year. And this year we will have a training course for the coordinators for you to develop further on. So please do invite the schools to join in the project, as well as universities, colleges, vocational schools. So Julia, if you could send to the general chat and to Facebook the information about contact details, how people can join, because that will provide their space for the people to join us. We are ready to welcome you. We would like to have more STEM girls, and we really hope that the future, the STEM is the future, and it would be good if we had this proportion of 50-50. Thank you, Marina, for such inspiring words. Really, we are inviting all of you to join our STEM Girls community and to create branches in your educational institutions. So I'm sending the link both to YouTube, to Facebook, to our direct chat here. Please follow our page. But now for us to understand what our STEM Girls branches are, what approaches are used by our coordinators, I'm giving the floor to Liudmyla Buzivska, the coordinator of one of the most active STEM Girls branch, which is the General Educational School of the village Veliki Metnik, and she will share her experience of carrying out the activity of the branch, and will tell about the approaches which they apply in their work. Liudmyla, the floor is yours.
Дякую, доброго дня. Ось я поширюю презентацію.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I will now start sharing my presentation. I can see that it's already on the screen.
В режимі показу показувати, так?
So I'm demonstrating my screen, right?
Добре. Я розпочну з історії нашого
So I will start from some history of our branch so that you get an idea of who we are and what we do. Before we joined STEM Girls, we were a very active school. We had mediation, we had a debate club. We also participated in different competitions of projects. But we were lacking something because these are the directions that develop soft skills, but we were lacking in hard skills, and it would be interesting for us, it was interesting for us to combine soft and hard skills. And I heard this advice that children need to develop the soft and hard skills so that they can be successful in the future. That is why STEM Girls is one of those programs which allow us to achieve that. In 2019, in the summer of 2019, we joined and we became a branch of STEM Girls. The first event which we held was Girls' Day. We had a very exciting excursion. We went to Vinnytsia National Technological University. We visited an IT company and Prom Automatica company. One of the success stories is a girl who at the time did not know who she wanted to become, but she was very good at foreign languages, but now as a graduate already, she's sure that she wants to work in IT. The winner of the Girls' Day won a trip to the Ukrainian parliament, which was organized with the help of STEM Girls. Based on the first year of activities, we became participants of the final conference held in Yuzhno-Ukrainsk. So in 2019, the branch of Yuzhno-Ukrainsk gymnasium became the winner, and it was a very exciting trip. And I believe that all the coordinators present during that trip remember how interesting it was and how much we were able to learn from that trip. Also, we participated in different challenges and we were able to win twice. It was the challenge 10 facts about energy, which impressed me, and challenge number 2, girls who change the world. And as winners, the girls received very nice presents, and they were really very impressed and very surprised. So they got these shoppers, eco shoppers, and one of the girls also got a thermal cup and also a chemistry kit. Our 6th graders participated in STEM vacation. What I really liked about this type of activity, and the girls really liked it very much. So if if you follow the information, STEM vacations will be organized this year again for 6th graders, and our students already signed up. We had a very interesting event in winter, and we hope that in the summer it will be as interesting. We also participated in the online discussion how to increase the number of girls in science. I would like to boast here a little bit. I was the invited speaker at that conference. Also, we participated in an online event, Research, Change and Inspire. Here, our girls were very active participants. They asked questions to the speakers. Also, we started a library with the support of the girls because we were sent these 3 books, these 3 very interesting books. And I would also like to draw your attention that the books are dedicated to gender topics, which is also very important. And in 2020, we became the most active branch, and we were very surprised and pleased by that. And also the prizes which we received, the prizes which motivate us to move forward, which give us the opportunity to feel that what we are doing is actually returning to us, that we are getting a return on our activities. So our girls received this very fine microscope. This is the chemistry kit I already told you about, pen kits. Also, the girls participated in individual competitions, and so some of the girls were awarded with power banks. Here you also see the winners of individual competitions who got a speaker as a prize and a computer mouse. And I would also, unfortunately, for lack of time, I wasn't able to add some pictures, but I would like to thank UEKT as the best coordinator, and I also received a hoodie and a backpack as prizes, and those were very fine prizes because I used the backpack to carry my laptop, which I use for work. So our activities, what we were doing. So we joined on different all Ukrainian and all Ukrainian events, even beyond STEM girls, because we participate in engineering week. And since we are STEM girls, our girls are the most active participants. Also, we participated in all Ukrainian STEM week. There were many other competitions and events where we participated. Those were quizzes and competitions such as on the lesson, Cisco platforms organized events. We also have the Cisco Academy at our school. And also it was a competition for space drawings. We organized our own in-house events, Day of Science, seminar for girls of the second and third grades. Also, we have debates on different topics. For example, we had debates with the question whether girls can be as successful in IT as men are. And the debates were really a success. It was very emotional. We participated in all the online events organized by STEM girls and also in other events because we don't want to miss out on any events happening. So here you can see some pictures from these events. Also, we participated in different challenges. The girls are very excited. Here you can see pictures from the latest challenges which we participated in during the quarantine. So what allowed us to achieve this success? We were not sure that we will be successful, but probably some steps which we took were more successful than the others. So the first thing is that we are trying to involve everybody willing. When we opened STEM Girls for girls of 8th through 11th grades, it turned out that 6th graders were also very active. So we singled out a separate direction, STEM Junior. This year, the girls switched to the main body of the STEM girls, but again, 6th graders are also very active. The activities differ, of course, but they can also participate in the general challenges and activities for the high school girls. And even today, one of the girls, one of the 5th graders, sent me a video in physics. The second thing is listening to the desires and needs of the girls. It's very important to be understanding and also create the circumstances in which everything will work out for them.
And if the coordinator works well, it all works well. Because the moment you stop, everything may stop. I have noticed such things happening when the girls do something while there appears one challenge, one problem, and because of that, they may just stop doing everything on halfway. So it's necessary to find the moment, so to find the right time to help them with completion of every task. It's necessary to motivate them by your own example, because you do realize that we can tell some things 100 times, nobody will listen, but if you do something, it may be repeated by the girls.
That's my own example is really important. And you know, I'm a very dynamic and active person. You can actually see it that I'm involved in many projects and I'm really active in my attitude to the tasks of the branch. Probably that also motivates girls. We need to motivate them on a permanent basis because, you know, motivation is unstable. It depends on the age and the mood, on the working load at school, on their load they have at home because maybe they have some home chores. And I've not mentioned that our school is a village school, and that's why we have some seasonal work to do in the field, and that's also important. We also need to take into account different circumstances, and we need to be free from stereotypes. And if we speak about global things, we need to speak about stereotypes. We should mention that there are no professions which aim only at girls, which are only female professions. And we should also mention some minor stereotypes. For example, I don't give an assignment to someone because I think that he's not interested in that and he will not perform it. Because sometimes it is the case when I offered an assignment and they told me, okay, though I thought that they would never do this. So it's worth trying it out every single time. To become a success, develop skills. That is one more secret. We know that studies normally are aimed at the development of hard skills, but my girls have told me, why is physics so boring if we can actually make such experiments? Like today, the girls were shooting the videos for the challenge which we now have. So why not do it in this funny way, well, in the same way as we were doing it while shooting the video? Probably this boring approach could somehow be compensated for by such interesting, funny activities when the girls could have a different look at this science. They could be again inspired. You need to involve girls, even I actually bring them to the webinar and they don't need to do anything, but with time, gradually, they become interested in this. For example, some girls have told me that they have watched some 10-hour-long webinars and it was really of interest for them. The main thing is to try. The more mass the event is, the more people are involved, the more interesting it is. Because of importance is the feeling that you're doing it not just in your own school, but with the whole of Ukraine. It becomes more interesting. Also, I've introduced the school, the system of rankings. We have the STEM girls ranking, and the most active girls know that they are the most active, that they are the best. Um, for every specific assignment, they get a certain score, a certain number of points, and actually this ranking is rather objective. And I promised then when the branch gets some bonuses, we will try to give these bonuses to the girls, like the first people in the ranking will go on some trips to some conferences, if any. So probably other branches also have such active girls because we do realize that their activity rate is not the same. Maybe you could somehow motivate those most active girls in this way because the prizes, the awards, you know, this is the most important thing. And somehow it's not always the case that the best people win in the competition. So probably you need to correlate this all according to the rankings. You also need to integrate the activity of the branch into the educational process. For example, sometimes I tell that a certain event has to do with ICT, right? And I'm going to hold this instead of my class, instead of my lessons. Like during the lesson, we watch some conferences, and I'm inviting even boys because this information is also important for them. I'm not trying to divide the class because sometimes boys keep telling me that, okay, it's a little bit of a discrimination in relation to boys. Sometimes I also invite them to such classes when we have video elements. And also we need to involve other teachers and the administration because they need to be inspired as well. They need to be enthusiastic about it all. And you know, our victory has provided a boost, and actually all the teachers and all the administration members are trying to help us. And like the teacher of chemistry is trying to choose the best possible experiments. The teacher of physics got involved in their shooting of the video for the current challenge. And her name is Mariia Bashlyk. She actually was trying to give some prompts to them what would be the best. Thanks. And as far as the activity of our community is concerned, I also got a couple of recommendations. We need to continue with those interesting events because, well, there are certain people who like certain events. We need also to organize something like a STEM camp for senior girls. And even today, one of the girls who is a graduate, actually not a graduate, she has finished the seventh form. She told me, why is it only for sixth graders? I would also like to participate in that. That could be something related to programming for the girls to understand that it's not that difficult, because classes are classes. That's a different thing with a clear agenda.
And as I was already saying, some prizes, some motivation for the most active girls, and some motivation for the coordinators would be really a good thing, because when you are motivated, it also brings you a boost of strength and energy. I was already sharing my feedback about the prizes which I got, and it inspired me to work more. Thank you. Thank you, Liudmyla. Thank you very much for sharing your experience, for being this inspired. Do any of our guests have any questions? Now is the time to ask them. So here we have the coordinator of one of the most active STEM branches. You are welcome. If we don't have any questions, then Liudmyla, can you give any recommendations to schools that are only thinking about joining STEM girls, to schools that are only starting out? So what would be your recommendations? What could be the first steps before joining STEM? And we can now stop screen sharing. So please click on the same button in Zoom where you started screen sharing.
Ось тут є кнопочка «Стоп», друга, я ледве знайшла.
So I have already found that button. So to answer your question, there is this proverb: you may be afraid of some things, but you need to start doing. We are currently having very fun challenges, so why not join those challenges? It's fun. We have a STEM camp. You can also join the STEM camp. So you can start by talking to the girls, ask them, and form some kind of team. And when the other girls see that it's something interesting, others will join in. When we started, our team was quite small, but we spoke about STEM during classes in the presence of other girls, and they started getting interested and they became involved. So the most interesting thing is to make the first step. When others will see that it's interesting, they will also join. Share the information, tell what it is. I started talking about STEM during my classes. I told girls about the opportunities, and then we started working. Are you also involving STEM teachers in other directions? What is your collaboration with other teachers in your school? I wanted to thank you for the present, because it played some kind of decisive role. Last year, I was only able to involve them in the engineering week, but they were kind of apprehensive about the other things. They didn't really want to be involved. But when we received the microscope, when we received those fine prizes, the chemistry kits, the 3D pens, when it became so large scale in the school, the attitude of teachers changed greatly. And during the chemistry challenge, the chemistry teacher is really actively involved. The biology teacher also got involved. The physics teacher also helped us. So when there are some tasks, we approach her and ask them for help, and they are actively involved as well. They don't refuse. Natalia Koschovska raised her hand. Natalia, you are welcome. Thank you very much for the presentation. It was very interesting to hear feedback from an actual practitioner, from a person who is organizing everything, who is working with the girls. Feedback is very important. The thing I wanted to ask you is, what is the attitude to these activities? What is the attitude of parents of the girls? And if the other participants are eager, they can also share some experience about involving the parents and their vision. Parents have a very positive attitude because when the girls participate in different online events, the parents are to give their consent. So when I spoke to the parents, they told me that it was a very great thing that we were working so much with the girls. We've had one parent in our experience who was quite against it, but the child herself was very much willing to participate in the events, but still this girl does participate in some activities and challenges, even though the mother wasn't so much for it. So 99% of the parents are for the activities. And does any of the coordinators have any questions or comments regarding involvement of STEM, of girls in STEM programs in the branches? Or perhaps you share the same experience? Liudmyla, in general, how about the girls themselves? Do they show any initiative, and what are they saying about the STEM activities? Of course, the motivation changes from time to time. Some girls are more active than the others. Sometimes you need to motivate them, but there are some activities which they like more. There are some which they like less. They may have more or less time for participation. And for instance, today I wrote a letter to them telling them about the physics video, so I didn't have to ask them to come and do it. Regarding the camp, I just made an announcement about the camp, and I immediately received letters from them, from those girls willing to attend the camp. So the girls really like everything. The only thing is that sometimes some of the girls are unwilling to participate, but then such periods of unwillingness change by a period of motivation. But I think that's something all the branches can share. Thank you, Liudmyla, and I can see that Olga Smirlova raised her hand. What I would like to say is that parents are for their kids to be involved in different activities. My situation is that when I made the announcement, my school is rather large. We have 1,200 students. When I first made the announcement, 50 parents came, but only 1/3 of those were eager to sign the agreement. We are now living in this world where people are afraid to disclose information about their husband. For instance, they are not afraid to disclose information about the kid, and I'm really tired of having to repeat the same information to the parents. And they constantly ask me why they need to include their information when signing this agreement, and why not the same information is demanded from them when they are first enrolling into the school. So I decided to take a break in this question, postpone it until autumn. We have enough consents for the registration of the branch, but I am tired of explaining to the parents why they need to provide personal information of theirs. Parents cannot come to school right now. So this is the problem. But how about the general attitude of the parents? The general attitude is very positive. They support the activities, they support their child being involved in different things and not just walking on the streets. I was the first one, by the way, to join TikTok. And I sent one of the links to our deputies, and she told me, TikTok, this is something immoral. And I told her, go to our page and you will see science there. People were really surprised that such social media platform can be used for the benefit. And it was quite a discovery for me as well when I started. We have now made all the settings and now you can safely go to our TikTok page. So the parents are very much for it. The only thing is that boys are sometimes offended and they say that they feel quite discriminated. Everything is okay. We do have some challenges, but I think we will be able to address them. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Olga. Thank you for sharing your experience. I hope that everything will be okay and the girls will be allowing the girls to join in, and we will try to solve this issue with the consent. Everything will be okay. We will join our efforts to involve as many girls as possible in STEM, and we encourage you to do the same because you are that important link to adding more and more girls to STEM. Thank you, Liudmyla. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for sharing. And we will be able to have a more detailed conversation about the activities a little bit later. Now, I would like to announce that, unfortunately, our second speaker is not online with us as yet, Larissa. So I will announce the other speaker who will tell us about current STEM approaches, which they are using for children of primary schools. So our next speaker is Mariia Bashlyk, teaching methodology developer at STEM education at STEM-school Inventor. So I'm welcoming the community. And thank you for inviting me to speak today. And at our school, we started with the primary school, but this year we will be opening the activities in secondary middle school. In our school, we don't have discrimination regarding the boys. We don't have this opportunity of choosing groups on a gender basis, and we have very small groups. We have 50 students at one location, and everybody is participating in all the activities at the same time. So can I start sharing my screen? Yes, you do have the access, you do have the rights. So our school was born at the request of the parents of kids who were attending the Inventor School. And our school is very young. We had the first graduates of our primary school this year. So since the very beginning, we were positioning ourselves as a STEM school primarily. And it turned out that our curriculum already had very many STEM subjects which were developed at the Inventor School. So starting from the first grade, we had robotics, basic engineering, architecture, Lego, children's projects, Minecraft subjects, where children were involved in solution of some project assignments. So these were the subjects already on the curriculum. But in addition to that, we also developed other courses which were very much adjacent to the STEM courses. And that's what I'd like to tell you about today, how we are introducing these approaches without a very expensive inventory. So first of all, it became possible with the help of the lesson, which is called I Discover the World. This course is based on a thematic module. The academic year is divided into 4 thematic modules, and each module starts with some challenging question. And as we know from STEM, this is how it works. You need to find an answer to a problematic question. So I built my presentation on the structure. So the first thing that the students get is they need to complete a mission throughout a quarter, which they are completing during this class I Discover the World, but also during other classes. So here are some of the topics of the modules, like global warming. It can be development of a smart city, looking for treasures of different nations, solution or debunking of some fakes. So these are not already the topics of modules, but topics of projects on which pupils work. So if throughout a quarter the pupils work on developing a smart city, then it means that during the first week they learn what a smart city is, and then they are trying to develop that program. So they learn what a smart city is, how the system of healthcare is built in such a city. But we also ask the teachers of Ukrainian language and mathematics to offer them support in the topic. If the topic was housing and residential buildings, the teacher of Ukrainian literature offered them a book about Nikola Tesla. And at the same time, the children discussed ways in which we can protect our buildings. And they also discussed the inventions of Nikola Tesla. We also went back to history and revised the information that we are studying in a historical perspective. So how the things that we are learning today are overlapping with our traditional culture and history. And this is also discussed either during arts and crafts lesson and also during the lesson I Discover the World. After this challenging question is put, the pupils start developing the project. We do a lot of observation, we do a lot of experiments, modeling, and comparison. So you can see this in the picture. So if we are studying plants, then we plant them and we watch them. We watch how the plants are fed, how the leaves of plants are structured and built. I don't really remember what this project is, but we were studying the strength of the eggshells, and we were studying different architectural trends, and we said that an arch is one of the strongest part of the building, and so we made this comparison with the egg and eggshells. When we studied space, we discussed meteorites and the angles with which a meteorite falls onto the Earth. So many ideas like that may be found on Pinterest and elsewhere, and we agreed on those ideas before setting the topics of the modules and setting the topics of the projects. So we were trying to fit all those approaches into our program. In these pictures, you can see a project which was dedicated to collecting the treasures from different continents, and the picture to the right shows how we set out on our sail, and for that we had to build a ship. And the kids built a ship with the help of foil. And then they had to fill the ship with some basic units, and when the coins were no longer available, they had to replace them with another material to keep the ship afloat. We discussed Europe and that it is very rich in different treasures. And also we discussed the erosion of soils, how the climate affects the erosion, how the plants affect the soils, and this you can see in the picture to the left. So we conducted the experiments and we learned how to describe them. So this is again a project where we modeled an eruption of a volcano. Here we modeled global catastrophes, which we supported with reading of a very cool book. This is a book for adults. But unfortunately, I forgot to include it into the list. And the book is called Our Iceberg is Melting. This book is written in a storytelling style, and it tells us the story about a population of penguins, and one of the penguins from that population noticed that their iceberg was melting. And this is not a STEM book, but you will see in that book using very similar approaches that STEM uses on how we can deal with this problem, how we can model, and how we can prevent this melting of the iceberg. I think that this book for adults, which we use to familiarize the kids, was very good to help them learn what teamwork is, and it fit greatly into the topic of global catastrophes. And here you can see the modeling, how they were modeling the penguins and the melted iceberg. When learning human anatomy, we were learning the respiratory system of a human. We were studying how different things are deposited in our lungs. If a person has some bad habits, of course, these are not human lungs. We bought some pig lungs from a meat shop. So this was the first grade, and it was one of the best impressions that the kids got. There might be some ethical issues involved, but of course there should be a very conscientious grown-up who will be able to explain these things in a correct way, and everything should have an end goal. So what is the end goal of doing all these experiments and observations? The next step after studying the problem that the students are facing is the generation of ideas. And if in regular STEM manuals, which we were able to find, we didn't see a systemic approach, we didn't see systemic suggestions as to how to make this process directed. So our approach is of course, to use critical thinking methods to ask additional questions, but there are also instruments that inventors can use. The system of Altschuler, the theory of solving inventors' challenges and issues. So we are now involving that in our studying process, and I recommend that you have a look at this approach because it helps you not only help creative thinking, but also targeted, directed inventors thinking. I'm sure that you know Olena Rybinarova. She has this functional systemic approach, which tells you that in order to solve a problem, you need to see it as a system. You need to see it as a system with a structure built of subsystems, art systems, etc. I will not be speaking in detail very much, but I'm just mentioning it because we were borrowing from her ideas and they were very helpful for us. Another person that is developing this approach in Russia, that is Alla Nesterenko. She is working with trees pedagogy, and I recommend that you have a look at her approaches. And in the book to the left, the workshop of knowledge, she tells of ways in which we can develop creative thinking, which you can use in your STEM classes, both mathematics, Ukrainian language, not just natural science, how you can implement research. For instance, how you can study the use of different prefixes and suffixes, spelling, etc. There are also various websites which you can attend. Unfortunately, most of them are in Russian. I haven't yet found any substantial resources in Ukrainian, so that might be a challenge for some of us to create those resources. So here you can see some of the methods which you can use, and we are using them during idea generation stage throughout semester. You can add some of these methods just to reinforce the range of instruments that students have when working on the project. The next stage is construction modeling. During this stage, particularly during our I Discover the World classes, we are using methods at hand. So suppose during one of the classes dedicated to humans, we were using cardboard, needles. Of course, you will need some budget for that, but it's quite affordable. So you can see that one of the teams was working on the nervous system, and one of the boys decided by himself to make this recording of how our body reacts when you touch a cactus. So that was already a student showing their initiative. But the rest of it was made with very affordable materials. Here you can see another class, they're using some other models, but the idea is understandable. We try also to organize different excursions just to reinforce and support the topic studied. So we had this excursion for our students to show them which technologies are used to preserve healthy cells of human body. So that is where we started our project. Is it possible to grow human body organs? What are the ecological foundations that we had? A text about golem within that topic, and then we discussed different systems. The next project is called Smart City. So we started with the basics and we added to the infrastructure on a weekly basis. Then we had a presentation of developers in front of the parents. Two cities were selling apartments in residential buildings of their city. They had to sell their project, and the parents, with the help of multimeter tools, which we first saw during the STEM conference, the parents were voting for the best project, telling which was more ecological, more well structured. And this project was also supported with an excursion to Kyiv Smart City, which showed us how the city of Kyiv is currently being improved from the standpoint of safety, which innovative solutions are being implemented, and the kids had an opportunity to ask some questions and learn more about that. And the final stage, which we use primarily in large projects, it's called pass the knowledge down, pass the knowledge to your peer. We call this stage fixation of results. And here we use many IT applications. We use software. And for instance, the applications which were recommended for middle and high school were implemented by us with primary school children quite successfully. They were able to quickly learn how to use this technology, especially when the quarantine started. Everybody became computer literate very quickly, so they have no problem working with computers and keyboards. So the fixation of project results may be realized in a different way. Knowledge can be passed on in different ways. So when we had a project called Citizens of the World, we built it as a historical excursion to how Ukrainians are different and similar from the Europeans in terms of culture. And students had to create a historical game. So here you can see pictures of the game developed. You can see the mechanics, the rules of the game, the field. And so the final stage was basically this testing of that game. But the informational component was that the kids were creating the text for the game themselves. When we discussed global catastrophes, children created a story about overcoming one of the global catastrophes or how to handle it when you face it. We created this screening room. We really bought popcorn, and the kids together with their parents were watching their video stories, their animated stories as if in a cinema. That was group work. Another way of studying a problem, the module was dedicated to media literacy, and the graduation project was to create a website using Wix platform, and the task was to debunk a piece of fake news. And the students presented the information to each other. They used QR codes. And I really liked the project of the fourth graders because they were really good with the arguments. They used many facts, and we had very different ideas. Girls had debunked fakes about animals. They were trying to debunk some fake pictures uploaded to the internet, and one of the boys dealt with the Loch Ness monster mystery, while the others were analyzing the fake flood. You may remember those pictures of floods in the Carpathians, because many of those pictures were not from that year. They were not even taken in the same location. So we were learning basically within this project to look for sources to have different views of the problem. So basically that's it. Here, this is the first public project. Here, the students were creating a presentation. It was a basic presentation. Unfortunately, we don't have any girls in the picture because it's a class without girls, and the boys decided to create a room of silence. They had to provide arguments. So this boy in picture number 3, he was using a noise meter, trying to gauge decibels in the hallways. The other boy was studying how noise affects our hearing, and he was suggesting some solutions. They were even creating a cost estimate, what we needed to overcome this problem of noise. And the end of the project was the opening of the noise room. We had this room launched a year before that, but it wasn't really used. And the boys with their project helped us realize how important it is. So useful applications, these are not just all the applications that we're using, because we have different opportunities for distant working, but these are the applications that we use for the projects, for creations of different reports. The first one is Padlet. On Padlet, we organize teamwork. We have different games. Also, it has this timeline of time. So we were using this timeline when we were implementing different projects about space. Story Jumper is a resource for creating online books, which you can voice. We had a distant project, a remote project on inventions, and they had to create a story about inventions in Story Jumper, and they are saved in the library. Powtoon is used to create animated videos. ThingLink helps add information on maps, and we used it when creating a thematic tour across Ukrainian landmarks, and they had to present the final map to the class. Prezi is the finding of the most recent 6 months. We used it for the graduate project of 4th graders. They had to do a presentation about themselves, the best version of themselves. They had to present the changes that happened to them over the past 4 years and come up with the plans for middle school. Wix, that's a website constructor, and Canva, we use it quite often for different materials. So this is basically how we are organizing our work and how we are trying to reinforce our work within different classes. Thank you. Thank you, Maria. Thank you very much. Thank you for this very informative presentation. Now is the time for a Q&A session. I would like to ask our guests to be active. You may either raise your hand or put your question in the chat. So Maria, I have a question. Can you summarize step by step all the approaches so that we can just come with a summary? I was trying to have a summary in the heading. So the first thing you should start with is by putting the question, which will call for a search for answers. The question has to be connected to the life of kids, something that they will face in real world. Or if it's not possible, then think of a gamified situation. We either write a story about global catastrophe. So the first thing is putting a problematic question, and how we can put questions like that, that's the other thing. Number 2, studying the problem.
And here it seems to me that there are a couple of things that can really be studied using some available tools, something growing around you, some stationery, some cheap things. You don't need any special resources. The third one is the search of ideas. And here I would like to recommend you to get additional knowledge, creative thinking. There are some creativity development methods, specific ones, like the TRIS ones. But the next one is the very development of construction approach, and the students work in a team and they are supervised by the teacher. And if we speak about modeling, we improve, we do the testing, and we present our work either to the parents or in the quarantine conditions to the administration and to other junior students. That's the way we do it. Great, thank you for such a nice piece of recommendations. And by the way, in our chat, it's written that they have come to know a lot about your work, about your ideas, because your ideas are really great. But do you involve girls? So do you involve the attention of girls in STEM directions, or still you have more boys? Well, actually, we have more boys for some reason, but we don't need to involve girls. Girls are always involved, and they even involve some boys. Because you know that girls, psychological development of girls is
Поки що вирішують свої там соціальні питання, тобто вони там
comes sooner than with the boys. boys are going to become leaders, they're working on this. Of course, this is generalization. It depends on the specific person, but normally girls set the pace. They are always involved in all the processes. I mean, designing, development, presentation, IT skills, and there are no advantages with boys in this activity. Even robotic technology, this is the same. Girls are very active, and we have a festival which we have at the end of the year, the Robotica Festival, the Annual Festival, organized by our parental company, but their children provide their Lego solutions and Lego designs, which they have constructed within kids project during their classes. That's why we cannot show our projects but we show these projects during the year. And in Lego activities, in robotic technology, there are no intellectual, advantages or quantitative advantages because girls are more active in terms of percentage. I would say that girls are really more active in all those activities. And teachers are, by the way, active, and these teachers are all women. So it's kind of a community of girls, STEM girls, like they are together with your teachers, ladies. That's great. And Maria, what piece of advice could you give the teachers, male teachers, female teachers, who would be willing to start some interesting activities? What would you advise for the beginning? You know, once I was inspired by the teacher of English who always worked with Pinterest. This was the application. I was not acquainted with it, but then when I understood that it's just not just a photo, and not all of us are creative people by nature. And I'm the people, for example, accumulating information. I'm not that creative. And you know, when you see this bank of ideas, it becomes easier for you to make this first step because you can see how many resources you can get to start those projects. How simple solutions could be. You don't need to report with ideal projects of kids. No, they are on their way. They are searching for something. There may be failures, but that is the process of search. And you know that kids are really ready to rebuild kind of a boat with one piece of film. And that's really fantastic. And those who have not started doing this will come to understand how easy it is to involve a child if it's all about creating some things by his or her own things. And if they're not going to be condemned because there is no right or wrong answer, you can redo, reshape, redesign, improve, and that helps move ahead and get some pleasure from this because there is not a single criteria besides your own pleasure derived from the activity you are doing. Nobody will tell you that it doesn't follow the sample because there is no sample to follow. This is just your engineering creativity. Great. Then definitely our teachers need this application which you have mentioned because yeah, this is for inspiration purposes. Yeah, they need this Pinterest, this application to get the inspiration and enthusiasm. And we are grateful to you for your inspiration, for your enthusiasm, for the useful things you have told us. You have really inspired our STEM core data, I guess. Thanks a lot for sharing your experience, for sharing your STEM approaches. And we really believe that all the pieces of advice will come in handy to all the community of STEM teachers throughout Ukraine, and they will use their recommendations to involve, in particular, girls in STEM activities. Thank you. So, we unfortunately have some force majeure circumstances because the invited speaker, Larissa from the Canadian Association, unfortunately has not yet joined us. That's why I guess that so far we will stop our meeting because probably she's got some connection problems. And in the meantime, I would like to tell you that we will definitely have another meeting with you and with Larissa because we will definitely need her presentation and her experience. And You know that we have invited the representative from the Canadian Association of STEM Girls, and we will do our best for this meeting still to take place. And for the meantime, I'm really grateful to all the speakers, all the presenters who have participated in our open part. We have had Liudmyla Buzivska, the coordinator of one of the most active branches of STEM Girls in this village of Veliki Mytnik, and Mariia Bashlyk, who is the methodologist in STEM education in the Inventor school. They have shared their experience, their approaches to involving girls in STEM. They have told how to involve girls for them to develop in those directions and to probably build up their career in STEM. Our quarterly meeting of the branches of STEM Girls has been organized jointly with the UN Population Fund, and it has been supported by the Swedish government. Thank you, Natalia, for joining our today's meeting. Natalia Koschovska. And with this, I want to finish our official part with the presentations, but we still invite all our coordinators to stay in Zoom for us to be able to have a talk with you concerning our community, to discuss our further plans and to get acquainted, since we have newly established STEM Girls branches, and therefore we're inviting our audience to also join the branches of STEM Girls, and you may find some detailed information on our Facebook page. So we're happy to invite you to our community, and we wish you good luck and have a good day to all those who are watching us in social media. So far we are stopping our broadcast.